Welcome everyone. I'm Angie Garber with the Marketing Department here at AdvisaCon. For those of you who are new to AdvisaCon's webinar series, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about us. Our mission is to boost your project management efficiencies by optimizing your processes and technologies, creating measurable results that empower you and your organization. AdvisaCon has over 20 years in the project management industry and is a gold-level partner with Microsoft. No matter your company size, our team specializes in maximizing your business and personal productivity by leveraging the Microsoft technology experience. For those of you who join us on a weekly basis, you know that today's session is part of our weekly series we refer to as Webinar Wednesday. Each week the topic is different and designed to give you helpful information that will have a direct impact on you and your day-to-day tasks. Today's webinar session will be a half-hour in length, which means it also qualifies for half a PDU. I will give you more information about that at the end of our time together. If you have any questions or need clarification during our time together, please utilize the question section of the control panel. We will do our best to address them during our session, but if we aren't able to, please know that we will reach out shortly afterwards with the answer. It is now my pleasure to welcome today's presenter, AdvisaCon's President and Founder and Microsoft MVP, Mr. Tim Runcie. Tim?
Excellent. Thanks, Angie. Welcome, everyone. I am excited to talk about this agenda today. Our Webinar Wednesday focus is going to be on learning specifically about the new Project Portfolio Dashboard tool that Microsoft's made available for their Project Online in their 2016 release. But a lot of people are not aware of this. So I keep talking about it. People go, what? Huh? What is that? I'm like, wow, I need to definitely make sure people are aware of this. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the out-of-the-box portfolio views, things that you probably have seen or at least are aware of. And if not, then there's pieces that you haven't turned on in your own environment. But then we're going to just drill into what is this new portfolio dashboard and how does it work? It's important to definitely understand some of the features and capabilities. As well as there's the ability to create your own type of mock-ups or dashboards. And again, I'll wrap up with some of the hands-on demo learning approach as we go through there. So first off, as we get started here, key information really around this is that a lot of organization executives, project managers, program managers, or even PMOs are asking the questions about, hey, what are my top projects? Or where are we spending most of our time? Or which projects have the highest level of budget? And then from there, they want to drill into and have an understanding both on the health of these, including the summary of work, cost, and dates. Now, if any of this sounds familiar to you, you understand the value of both doing a schedule, leveraging resources, and certainly using an enterprise approach to drive metrics to good views and dashboards. However, the idea of having resource overview, projects, issues, and risks that are coming out of a SharePoint site all kind of driven into one particular dashboard environment is a huge benefit to executives. And so if you think about this, if you kind of start at a high level looking at maybe the red, yellow, green indicators and you begin to dig deeper, you start looking for things like what's slipping, what's off track, is it tasks, is it work, is it dates, is it deadlines? And you'll notice I'm using references to native things that are coming out of either Microsoft Project or Project Online or the enterprise fields that you have built to manage your day in and day out project. So the idea, of course, is that it says drive to the surface, a summary of where we're at. Let us dig in on resources, issues, risks, tasks, works, dates, deadlines, and of course be able to filter and manage that. And then adding the functionality of simple design, meaning that you can create your own designs. I'm going to kind of showcase these today. And this is a great addition. It really removes some of the initial hurdles that people would complain about having to build their own reports, or the reports that Microsoft gave natively with Excel services or Visio services that are out there are good, but maybe they didn't just quite meet the needs. Now, my favorite part of this, and we're going to talk about that more in a bit, is that I love to look at high level but quickly drill down to where the information is, meaning that if I need to get down to a Microsoft project task and see an assignment or see what resources are over and under allocated, is I don't want to have to hop through 15 different windows to get there or bring up different reports. The overall idea is inherently is that you've got key information and you want to make it summarized. So with that in mind, let's kind of step into and take a look at the PPM Portfolio Dashboard. All right, let me go right over here. And the environment that I'm showing right now is a Office 365 environment. You certainly could be doing a project server on-premise. But inherently, as you go through the idea of having different views, is that, if you haven't done this, these are basically graphical indicators in the Project Center that give you kind of health or schedule or work or cost slippage. And it's nice to have some of that visibility and visible information. You may also be thinking about, from a dashboard perspective, in terms of a portfolio view, is that you're sneaking over and peeking at the resources. So as we think about having the Premium Edition, at least looking at, hey, what are my resources assigned to, what are their capacity or what their availability is that you can go in natively in Project Online or Project Server, or even if you look at these pieces and go, here's the details of work and work activities. Again, these are out of the box, and it's showing you high-level information about a project, or in this case, we've kind of listed our resources and our ability to kind of visualize, work by project, or even maybe leverage your legend to turn on and off different projects you don't want to see. So carrying with that theme that says these are the natural pieces that come with PPM environment, what else can we actually take advantage of in terms of visual reports? Now over on the left-hand side here, you can see I've added a link here to what's called the Project Portfolio Dashboard. And this is what we're here to talk about today. Now before I click on that, a lot of you may or may not actually be in the Enterprise Edition. In fact, you might be out here in good old Microsoft Project. So let me just bring the desktop tool up. And whether you're in standard or professional, is that you understand a little bit about creating maybe graphical indicators that give you some sort of a visualization as things change or as you progress your schedule. Of course, if you're in 2013 or higher, you have this wonderful new component where Microsoft has carried over the Excel charting engine and the Word and PowerPoint formatting engine and allow people to come in and just say, hey, listen, I can actually create views and do my own pivot table reports and analysis. And so while this is great from a single project perspective, or perhaps maybe you're using a master project locally and maybe a local resource pool where you've connected all the pieces together, all of that, again, still visible and available. But what I'd like to do is, while these are great in showing you the data, I'm not able to actually just jump in and double-click or right-click and drill down into something. Where we've seen these type of reports with Excel services, Power Pivot, Power View, Performance Point, for those of you that have used SharePoint, you'll see a whole lot of that functionality that people are thinking about, and of course, that Power BI functionality. But this time, we're going to go back and we're going to look at it from an enterprise approach. So let me go back over to my project environment, and as I mentioned, I clicked on this item here that says Project Portfolio Dashboard. Now let me just go ahead and click on this. You'll notice it's going to refresh my screen here, and it's going to take a second because it needs to go and pull the information. Again, think of it this way, there's a lot of data that a dashboard is having to look across, and especially if you have a large organization, maybe that you've got a lot of projects in there, lots of assignments, maybe you have a lot of SharePoint sites with issues and risks, is that we're actually going to visualize that information, but project needs to surface that. Now people have asked me in terms of, how is this built? Where did it come from? How does the dashboard work? And so just in a nutshell, to kind of do a little bit of demystification, is that this is a JavaScript kind of interface, and it's plugged directly to the database engine, or basically the data behind Project and SharePoint. So the idea is it's tied to native fields, or if you create custom fields in the enterprise, you're going to see those available and surfaced. Another common question that comes up is, wow, after I look at all this, how much do I expect to pay for this? And the answer is, it's free, right? It comes with the enterprise environment. So for those of you that are doing a project online story, you're going to see a lot of this and other tools that are going to kind of appear and be made available. For those of you that are thinking about the on-premise story, you're going to see a point in time where Microsoft will roll these down locally. But great addition, and we talk about an add-in that we can add and make available to our environment. So let me just kind of orient you around this. Again, I'm looking at the live data coming out of my project enterprise environment here. And I'm going to show you some of the pieces that are available, and then we'll kind of drill into some of the anatomy and how those particular pieces work. So first of all, let me start up here with the ribbon. You'll notice that you've got an option here called dashboards. And the idea is that you can actually create your own type of dashboards. So maybe I'm focused on projects that are just this year, or I've got a historical archive, or maybe I'm doing portfolio forecasting. So you can create some of these. In fact, you can even name them. It looks like that Jean, one of our staff members, has actually created one of her own views, and it's just basically all her projects. So she would like, as a PM, to definitely have validation of the work and the work activities that she's managing. So again, making this available allows you to kind of group or present that information. I'll come back to this a little bit with that whole create side. There's also in the ribbon the ability to come in and apply filters. And if you look closely in the upper left-hand corner here, we have projects, and then you can click on resources, tasks, and every time I select one of these, you'll notice that this whole center section is actually changing with different types of fields that we can filter on. For example, if I click on resources, I can come over here and say, you know what, I'm only looking for active resources. Or if I'm looking for the status, is that enterprise, local, unassigned, I'm just going to try and pinpoint where information is coming from. Or maybe I'm looking for a department where resources belong to an RBS. Again, I could even come over here and say, with this dashboard that I'm viewing down below, I can put in, what type of enterprise projects are we talking about? Is it an infrastructure project? And maybe I want to see, how about proposal software project, and I can select the different types. This again allows me to pick different types of information, including cost, under, over, or any field that we have available. Maybe I'm interested in only looking at a few of the resources that are managing these. So maybe I go and look at what Ken, let's go see what Sarah and Tim are working on, and I'll just clear this other filter. And the idea is you can kind of build with this view that we're looking at, this dashboard right now, the ability to fire off and select the information that's appropriate. So maybe I filtered by certain projects. Now I've narrowed it down by who is the owner. And if we look down below, you'll see here where it begins grouping it by department. Here's the HR departments. These are the projects that are going on. And then there's some KPIs that show up around, hey, the schedule, work, and cost. You'll notice that some of these are flagged in red depending upon if it's over or under the variance. Basically, we go from 0 to 1, is it's going to let you know if you have potential problems. Now, let me go back up to those filters. And again, you can always kind of turn these on. You can select no filter and click on OK. And finally, there's other options that we can include, meaning that if this is what I'm filtering by, whether it's these type of issues, risks, etc., if I click on options, I can actually go through and say, well, what kind of filters do I want to work with? And you can actually click and pick what's appropriate for what you want to see. So meaning that when I go back and hit filters, I can actually go through and see what kind of information, what custom fields are available or I need to work with. Again, just giving you a quick interaction. And when I say you, I'm really referring to the fact that an end user can come here, and if you spend a little bit of time publishing, building, and updating the information, then your data will refresh. Now, some nice parts about this, and again, I'm going to get into a little bit more of the details here, is that as you hover over some of the graphical views, you're going to see the tooltips pop up with the information. It's very snappy, kind of helpful to see. I also like the fact that just like in the project environment, Project PPM, and so the either project server, or if you look at Project Online, is that you can use your legend to help filter or basically turn on what you want to see. So if you're grouping and sorting and you want to kind of drill into specific types of functional areas, if I talk about enterprise type of project, I can toggle these on or off to see which ones fit or which ones are available. Again, use your legend to come in and say, well, look, I don't want to see HR, finance, or IT. And again, you notice that my project cost versus the baseline grid starts to basically rapidly jump up or down. Now, we're looking at something called the overview. On the left-hand side here, let's leave the ribbon alone here, we have kind of our quick launch bar, basically our ability to access the information here. And so on our side navigation, I can click on projects. And I can design what I want to see. So for example, I might want to say, show me the top projects with finishing cost variances. give me a list of which projects are up above here that have top project with work performance or work variance. Which ones are basically over or under? Again, clicking, you can hover, and then clicking on these, it'll drill down to the related data underneath that. Let me hit the back button, and I'll show you that again. So if I come over here, and I click on the Product Accessory Design, and I select this, I can actually drill directly to that project. So if I want to see more information from one chart, I can continue to drill down to related data. Now I'm going to stay at a high level here because I'm not ready to go all the way to any project, but you'll also notice that if I'm looking at this year's projects, at the bottom I have a grid, and the grid shows me here's all your projects and here's the finish variance. Why it looks like Robin Counts is already 1,958 days past due. So this demo data, somebody's moved projects forward and backwards, and certainly you can see, what is that variance against the baseline. How about cost, right? If I'm looking at some of the test or sample data, I might be asking questions about, who's the owner, what's the cost, is there a variance? And the same, of course, is appropriate for work information. So at a snapshot, you have a nice level of view at a high area where you can actually view the projects. And again, as I continue to work through this, I might say, well, listen, I want the executive summary view of this year's projects. I want to see the details. And again, as you click on these are all pre-designed views to help you surface information. And as you look at these grids very subtly, let's see maybe if I can zoom this for you, you'll see that you can actually click and sort the column by ascending or descending. In fact, I can even go here and say, let's just click on remaining work. Up, down, show me my finish variance. And again, right now what it's doing is surfacing the projects. It says, what is the finish cost variance? Who's the highest? Who's the lowest? I can actually sort that information and have that available. Again, executive summary, and you'll see that you have hyperlinks. So pay attention to where your mouse goes. Now again, if I go from projects over to this year's dashboard for tasks, I can actually see top projects that have work in the past. Now, if you've ever been in a PMO where you're trying to kind of herd the project managers to projects or schedules, a lot of times what that really means is that you don't have tasks with basically today's date where either the finish date or the start date hasn't been, or the percent complete of that activity has not been progressed. So he's really saying, hey, we've got a lot of work in the past here, and so show me, what are the slipping tasks? Basically, what are the total cost overrun for all my projects? How many missed deadlines? And the idea is that, as Peter Drucker said, that which gets measured gets done. So in many cases we look at, hey guys, our goal for week over week is to drive these numbers down. I want to see work overruns basically dropping to a smaller percentage. I don't want to see as many missed deadlines. If we have slipping tasks, we want to see if we can do that. And you can look at the numbers as you hover over any one of these. How many are slipping between 5 to 10 days? There's 328 tasks in my portfolio that I'm viewing that are slipping. And again, down below here you can see where it says, well, if we're talking about tasks, which projects and where did the data come from? So you can see here it's doing a count as well as a variance with the activities. And if I open any one of these up, it'll actually show you the Microsoft project activities that are basically slipping in that project schedule. So it looks like somebody's grabbed some data, they published some information. But what I really like about this, and as I mentioned earlier, is the ability to continue to drill down and have that story be connected to your live data. So watch this. If I come down here and say, hey, listen, I'm going to click on Test Infrastructure Component. What's going on here? Notice what it does. It spins up a new window, it runs out there, and it takes me directly to where? It takes me directly to that project schedule. Now again, this is where in a project implementation, a lot of times we will actually have red, yellow, green indicators right at the task level. So people could come in and create their dashboards to say, hey, not only do my PMs see it when they're managing their schedule, but if I'm running reports here, I can also see exactly that same roll-up information, or what I talk about is drill down. So if I want to see which tasks on which projects are taking the longest in terms of cost, I can see, wow, this one is $590,000 and 520 cents over. Let's see what's going on with that activity. Again, click. It opens a new window, takes me right to that project, and this is where we would put in some of your own dashboards, your notes, but the idea is you can tell the story from the schedule. Now the idea is that this project we've actually played around with and we've blown the schedule out because we want to show things that are high or low. But again, the idea from an executive or a dashboard perspective is that I'm always looking at the same version of truth. I really want to get back to where that data is. All right, let's continue this. Since we talked about the ribbon and some of the quick launch, again, we could go to resources. Again, this year's projects, the top resources by demand, meaning that these are the people that have the most amount of tasks assigned to them. And again, I can come down here and say, look at Sarah, she's got top resources with issues, Ken's got issues, and oh, there's me. I definitely have issues, and I'm sure there's more than 3, but if I click on me, it's going to take me to where my information is. So now I'm looking at a resource perspective from a portfolio dashboard. Here's how many slipping tasks. Here's how many projects or tasks that I'm working on that have cost overruns or work or missed deadlines. And again, I can go through and start looking at the work and work activities I'm assigned to. And again, if I click on any one of these, it'll take me right to where the data is. Now, what I like about this is that it's not just about the Microsoft project schedule. Because as we know, we have information across multiple projects, perhaps even from your SharePoint sites, that maybe you have issues or risks that are assigned to you, but you haven't progressed them or you haven't closed them out. You'll notice here that some of the hottest concerns that I have on my project is that our team doesn't have enough coffee. So I've been assigned to address these issues, and apparently I haven't done that. So inherently the idea from our project is that we can look at both task, resource, and certainly when we talk about content, we're pulling information out of your SharePoint sites. Again, we've done this type of views and reports for many customers where we'll build them a custom view or build a custom web part. If you're in the online version or at least in 2016 or higher, you're going to find that from a portfolio dashboard, these things are being made available to you. Now, this is where I get to kind of dig in a little bit deeper. So if you like what you're seeing today and you think free is just absolutely within your price range, or if you're trying to decide how much money are we going to spend to try and build reports manually, and this is actually solving some of these, and a lot of it helps organizations quickly and efficiently simply move to an enterprise approach without having to bear the cost of a massive implementation. Now, with that in mind is that we know we have filters and dashboards, but let me go back to that dashboard section, and let's just kind of pause for a moment and think, you know, maybe I want to build my own dashboard. I want to make some of my own views available. How complex would that be? I mean, really, this is a JavaScript application. It's connected to data. What does it look like? So when I click on Create here, watch this. It's going to ask me to create a name for my portfolio dashboard. In this case, I'm going to call this Tim's Hot Projects. And what I'm going to do here is I'll put a little description here, and I'm just going to say demonstrating value at an early date. Now, on the left here it says general, but watch this. When I click on what's called included projects, you notice that I can actually come in here and start using what we call filters to actually select. So what fields do I really want to see when it comes to capturing my projects? You'll notice that I have some cost slip, work slip, and schedule slip fields. I have business impact. I can actually start using to select what type of projects, or maybe it's a particular type of funding. So if I go through here, and in this case, I'm just going to put location, and I'm going to say when I'm looking at projects, I want to find all projects that equal at least, in this case, we've created a location field that allows you to put a region or a location. So maybe I'll come down here, and I'm going to say, I'm really wanting to find out what's happening in, we'll just say, Asia Pacific, India. All right, I'm going to click on OK. Now, what it's going to do is it needs to go out and refresh the information, but I can continue to add more information to this. So again, as I go through here, and I go in and say, listen, let's go to our dashboard, and I go and I say, hey, listen, let's go ahead and find Tim's Hot Projects. I'm in a position where I can change the dashboard, refresh the view. I can set that as a default, and as it loads the information, I can actually find the projects that are filtered by what I'm looking for. Just as easy it is to create it, you can also delete it and take it away. In fact, if I want to just take that out and add a new one, very easy to make that happen. So a lot of times people will play around with that. But this, again, is just the tip of the iceberg. So if I'm talking about filtering by certain types of projects, I may also want to define what kind of values that I have showing up in that view. meaning that when I hop into project, this is where I want to see that information. So if I go in here and click on create, and this is a great way for us to kind of take this data, and it's loading all my information here. Here we go. Is if I come back to my dashboard and I want to come in and say, listen, I want to include sections, meaning that if I'm designing this and I want to actually include more or less detail, if I click on create, I can define what I want to see. And this is what I wanted to really show you before we wrap up today, is I can go in and say, hey, there's the overview section. What do you want to see there? Well, you know, I'd like to put a couple things on the top and on the bottom. And so you can say, well, I want 2 grids on the top, and then I can define 3 on the bottom. So what do you want to see? And you can go through and select pre-built here. So I'm going to put resources with risks and issues on the top. I'm going to go ahead and add my components here where I have finished variants at the bottom. And I can go through and kind of set from pre-built views of that information, including some of the grids that we've seen below. So again, the layout really is just this grid right here. And if I actually click right, let's select top resources by demand, is that I can define what's on the top, what's on the bottom. This is a 4x4 grid, but we can kind of mix and match, or you can go and pull in your own. And the idea is that once I have this, I name it, I save it, I have some of that flexibility, and when I click on OK, it reloads the data. Now, I know this is just a tip of the iceberg, you know, get your whistle wet with this, but if you look how simple and easy this is, the hard work is really about you guys filling in your data, using your native issues and risk fields, progressing your schedules, setting up the fields that you want in the enterprise environment. But that's the idea, is if you can manage a single schedule, instead of saving it to your hard drive, you publish it, we can start grouping and having portfolio dashboards available for us to work with. Okay, let me take us back and let's go ahead and summarize. So as we've gone through our demo, I wanted to kind of move on to a summary here. So again, yes, it's free. It really, really is. You need to add that. So again, it's an add-in. You can add it very quickly and easily. I encourage people, if you've got Project Online and you don't have that, call us. We'll show you how to and where to put that. It's not hard to do at all. In fact, there are links and people talking about it right now, but it is brand new, so it's fairly new out there. A lot of people aren't even aware it's available. Again, this portfolio dashboard will summarize key information from the task to the project to the resource, and of course it gives you those information even coming out of SharePoint. So you're linked to the native fields. We've had customers go in and completely obliterate all the native fields, and again, if you do that, just be aware some of these tools that are pointed to where the information from can't find that data. Again, it's highly interactive. You can click, you can select, you can drill down, it launches your new windows, and again, I love the fact that it's customizable. Again, the idea is get advantage, get it turned on, work in your environment, you've got some great data. Okay, so we've had a lot of fun here. Again, as you know, we're certainly telling people that if you need to get a hold of us, please do so. If you need to try it out in a free trial for Project Online, you can reach out to myself or any one of our team. We help customers all over the world basically launch and test out the online trials to make sure it makes sense for them, kind of doing a mini proof of concept. So with that in mind, let me turn this back over to Angie and have her kind of wrap up for today.
Thanks, Tim. That was a lot of useful information. Now, I would like to invite those interested in having an opportunity to explore some of the Microsoft technologies that you've seen demonstrated in our sessions, such as Microsoft Project, SharePoint, Visio, Power BI, or anything with Office 365. We would love to set that up for you with a free trial and demonstration, so please feel free to reach out and we can get that set up for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of our time together, today's session does qualify for half a PDU. The only thing I need you to do is to fill out the short survey that will appear in your browser once I close the session. Our Webinar Wednesdays are designed with you in mind and are largely made by you, as each topic is based off your comments and input, so please give us your feedback and we will do our best to accommodate. Once I receive your survey input, you will receive an email from me on Friday with the PDU number. Also, today's session is recorded and uploaded to AdvisoCon's YouTube channel on Friday. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, I highly recommend it as it contains recordings from our previous sessions, along with several additional tutorials and how-to videos which are very helpful. With that being said, I believe we've covered everything. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out directly to Tim, myself, or any of us here at AdvisaCon via website or by phone. We are here for you and we'd love to answer any questions you have. On behalf of myself, Tim, and the AdvisaCon team, we want to thank you for joining us and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.